One Battle After Another is directed by Paul Thomas Anderson and stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro, and Sean Penn. When their evil enemy resurfaces after 16 years, a group of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. This is my first Paul Thomas Anderson film I watched in a theater. In fact, I watched at all. I never really got it around to his filmography. I heard a lot of his films are great, and so going into this film, I was hoping to understand and really see what his style is like and why so many people enjoy his films, because a lot of people are saying that this is up there amongst one of not only his best films of the year, but among the best films he has ever made, if not the best. So I was going to this film with admittedly high expectations. I always try to go into a movie with as minimal expectations as possible, because many points in time I've been wrong and underwhelmed due to high expectations. But with this film, I was riding a bit of a high. So I watched the film, and overall, I thought it was great. I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought the characters were really engaging. I thought the story was interesting to see explored. Even if I don't agree with the message of the film overall, I thought the way the story was told was really engaging, really fun, and had a lot of tension to it. And it all goes down to the way Leonardo DiCaprio's character was portrayed throughout the course of this film as this paranoid ex-revolutionary who all he wants to do is protect his daughter. He smokes, he is always cautious of every action his daughter does, and once this plot starts going and the kidnapping of his daughter happens, he springs into action and does whatever he can to try and get to her. But because of the passage of time, he doesn't recall so many things anymore, and it's hard for him to remember many of the rules and stuff that he needs to really do in order to get certain information out of somebody else. So watch him try to push his way through his old life once again was really entertaining to watch, especially when Benicio del Toro's character comes into the picture. These two actors have great chemistry with one another, and Benicio del Toro gives a sense of patience, a sense of authority to each scene. He commands whatever is happening, and I really enjoyed how their dynamic is basically polar opposites throughout the course of the film. Sean Penn as a villain who is after this kid just to be able to cover his ass about a thing that he doesn't want to get leaked out there is such an intimidating villain. You ever seen those big muscle-bound action figures of a guy who has a lot of muscles that we used to have as kids, whether in the 80s or 90s? Imagine those figures as a real life person, and he's just so full of testosterone that it makes Arnold Schwarzenegger from The Predator cry a little bit. Like, Sean Penn is so intimidating as a physical presence, and you really feel the tension whenever he is close to achieving his goals or whenever he's in the room with another character. He always brings a sense of immaturity as well, because he is someone who, despite his buff and tough exterior, can get easily swayed when you play the right words that just tips him off. And you just get a villain who is unpredictable as all hell and just is always nerve-wracking to be in a room with, because you don't know what is going to happen and what action he is going to take. The story itself has a really good pace to it too. Despite the film being over an hour and 50 minutes long, I felt like the movie was like an hour and 20 minutes. It really goes through on a brisk pace throughout the course of the film, though admittedly it can drag a bit by its ending. The rest of the film had a great pace to it because the story is fairly simple. It is for the most part a rescue mission trying to get back his father's daughter. And we just see the characters go through so many loopholes and try to get away from a lot of cops, from a lot of authoritarian figures, just to be able to get this daughter back safe and sound. And I really enjoyed the way the story was able to play it all out, especially in the middle when it comes to this big riot that happens in the center of this film and becomes the movie's big centerpiece. And the cinematography helps with that so much. In fact, the cinematography all throughout the film is fantastic. It made so many of these small town areas or really empty locations feel big and grand in scale. Like, I saw this movie in a really standard screen, but the cinematography made it feel like I was watching this movie in IMAX. There's something that felt big and grand about the story that the cinematography was able to capture so beautifully well. And it all goes down to Paul Thomas Anderson's great direction. From the way he directs his characters and how they move around the scene to how he blocks the scene, staging it all, and just putting so many of these action sequences in very like in the background. Actually, like a lot of the action that happens is not really the focus. Yes, there's action sequences, there are people running away from cops, there are car chases, but apart from a really great car chase in the end of the film, most of the action is just left in the background and we're just following these characters around the action. And while that may sound boring, because you're more engaged with the story and the characters and what they're going through, you feel more engaged with what's going on apart from what's happening around them, because what's happening around them is not as important to them as what this daughter means for this father, who is willing to go through all of this chaos just to be able to protect his own daughter. And I really love how the cinematography was able to convey all that emotion. If I were to have any problem with this film, is that the overall message by the end is not something I essentially agree with. Now, keep in mind, this part is more so opinionated and more so leaning towards my own beliefs as a person. So you will probably feel a completely different way about the way the film ends, and I would understand. But these characters, by the end of the day, are still not the greatest characters, as they are essentially still terrorists. They still hold on to these ideals that they have, and they're just being chased down by an even worse person, like KKK worse. And you automatically, due to that, feel for what's going on around them with the story and what it's trying to convey. And while you are engaging like the characters for what the movie tries to explore, like I love the way the opening essentially gives us the origin story of Leonardo DiCaprio's character as being this revolutionary who falls in love, but because he has a daughter, is putting more focus on raising her instead of being part of the revolution, as being a father is more important to him. But he still holds on to many of those ideals still, and is still not that great of a person, as he's someone who doesn't really look back on his actions and really feel any regrets for causing any harm or hurt to the everyday folk around them. He was just more focused on spreading the message until he realizes that it's about time to put all that aside. So the end of the film, in a way, has our characters still go back to that way of life, still trying to convey that message, but not in the way of violence and destruction like it used to be, but to be able to just not be a normal person for once. To be able to actually explore ideas in a more healthier way. But it's those ideals and what they try to explore throughout the film with these ex-revolutionaries, again, just morally, I don't really agree with. Especially based on their actions in the beginning of the film. So, in that regard, it was a bit tough for me to really latch onto these characters. But once the plot really got going, I was really engaged all throughout the course of the film. And the film had me hooked at that point with great cinematography, great direction, and great acting. Overall, one battle after another, while can be divisive for some in an ideology sense, for the most part, if you are a film fanatic and you just want to watch an engaging story about a group of not so great people getting chased down by an even worse person, I would highly recommend you guys go check this one out. And I'm going to give one battle after another an A-. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.